Hello, hello. Hi. It's loud. Welcome. Hi. I said hi a lot. I'm Sarah. Welcome to this presentation at Design Week. I am not awkward at all. So I'm going to be talking about creative potential unlocked, identifying talent in yourself and your team. Out of curiosity, who all here identifies as a creative? Okay. I thought maybe most of you. Does anyone feel like they struggle sometimes or have an imposter syndrome with the word creative? Yeah, sometimes too, right? I'm yeah, I'm a creative, but also am I? For the longest time, I'm a graphic designer. I graduated in grad school, documentary practice, comic book illustration was my thesis. I'm all over the place creatively. But for the longest time, since I make money doing creative work, I struggled with the word artist. Does anyone ever struggle with identifying as an artist, even though they make money as a creative? Okay, all right, I'm talking to my people. Awesome. So, like I said, my name is Sarah. I own a creative agency based here in St. Louis. We're very small, but we've been around for a few years now. And as of right now, this is what we're saying we are. But sometimes we have an identity crisis because I have ADHD and we're creative. And so we just like to do things based on how we feel that season. But right now, we say we're building brands, capturing stories, empowering creatives. We help our clients tell their stories boldly and creatively, giving the tools to build a brand that stands out. So I have had several years of being a creative and sort of grappling with that identity. And for the longest time, I would jump from job to job, as you do, especially as a millennial, and think, gosh, where am I going next? Because I'm bored and I have to keep growing. Does anyone feel that way at all? Oh my gosh, you're my people. Okay, hi. And then I started to think as I made this presentation, which is fresh, okay? It's my first time presenting this, so bear with me here, okay? This mantra came to me. Jack of all trades, master of none. Does anyone feel like this resonates with you at all? Yeah, it's because I'm curious and I have to constantly be learning and I get bored. And like I said, I'm clinically diagnosed with ADHD. Like I need to be over here and over there and over here. And I ask a lot of questions. And so a lot of times I don't focus a lot on one thing. I'm learning a bunch of things. But it wasn't until a couple years ago that there's more to this phrase, which I actually love. It's Jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than a master of one. Has anyone heard the full phrase? No, I know. For some reason, I forget the last part of that. And I always kind of felt shame around this idea that do I not master any one thing? Am I just all over the place? And so when I would go to apply to jobs, I would say, okay, I'm gonna apply to this marketing position because it's also asking for graphic design and communications, which also can be writing, but also okay, so they also need videography. Okay, cool, I can do video, photography, I can do that. And it's more about what can I do, what do I wanna do, and what do I wanna continue to learn? And so I would apply to just random jobs that was any catch-all of something I wanted to be. Does anyone feel like they're ever in the job market and they're like, what the hell do I apply to? Okay, I'm getting more comfortable now because you're my people. Hold on, I gotta take a drink of water. Woo, I know, I'm shaking. I think, okay, so here's another thing. You guys are my first creative audience. So I'm there's gonna be a bunch of cool people here and I'm not gonna teach them anything because they're all gonna be yeah, Sarah, I know how to be creative, okay? But maybe you'll learn a little bit of something. And at least there's community here, right? It's a safe space. So yeah, at Girl Louie, I started this as an agency. It kind of started out of trauma, really. I was jumping from job to job. I had worked in nonprofits, and if anyone's ever worked in nonprofits as a creative, they sort of suck your soul. They want you to do everything. So they want you to storytell. They want you to have video. They want you to take photos and build the website. And so what I did is I just quit and I said, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to do my own thing. And immediately, like 2 weeks later, I booked a client making like 4 times what I was making salary-wise at a nonprofit, which is really great. Now, this wasn't the first time I ever freelanced, right? But the reason why I failed every time was because I was alone, and I hate being alone. I like being around people. So I knew that if I didn't surround myself with other creatives, I was going to go back and look for a job. And so I just tapped my network and I said, hey, who wants to hang out with me and make cool shit? And before I knew it, I was tapping into a huge network of people who are photographers, videographers, web designers, graphic designers. And I would just build a proposal that was like an A team of people. And I'd be like, what's your rate? And then I would just come up with a bomb ass proposal and be like, great, $50,000. And they'd be like, sure. And I'd be like, okay, cool. And then we'd pay each other. And it was great. And I act like we do this all the time and it's just a happily ever after story. That's not necessarily the case. Because I'm actually, as a creative, I have a lot of things that get in my way. Like the idea of being a leader and being a boss is actually really hard for me because I'm an empath and I'm sensitive and I need to make sure everybody on the team is okay. I don't pay myself sometimes because I want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. Running a business is really hard. I'm not business minded. Fuck numbers. I don't know how to pay I pay the bills, but there's a lot to learn. So I started to hire people to do the things that I thought weren't creative. And it turns out that actually they are. And so I started to think damn, I think everybody's creative. I think everyone's creative. I think that it just depends on how you reframe creativity because creativity comes in all different forms. And I'm going to get into that in a second. So I say creativity isn't confined to one form. It's how we express ideas, solve problems, and see the world with eyes. I'm also holding my microphone like this. You can tell I don't public speak a lot on a microphone, but I love it. Okay, so I'm getting a little personal here. This is baby Sarah. I'm Sarah. This is me as a baby. This is real baby photos. Growing up, we didn't have a lot. And so I grew up in the 90s. And I had to do a lot with little. So as you know, but most children do, right? We have a huge imagination. We are constantly making things up. We're pretending. We're somebody who we aren't today or tomorrow. I don't know what I'm saying. Now I'm going into a deep tangent. But basically, when my cousins would have video games, I did not. I didn't have any of that stuff. So I would go pretend to be a witch in my backyard and cast spells on my brother. And I say that because, scarcity unlocks things that make you creative. So scarcity challenges us to unlock the boundless potential of creativity. I came up with that. Isn't that cool? It's so cool. I love it. Everyone's like, good job, Sarah. Okay, here's an AI photo of me in high school. She's so cute. Way cuter than my actual high school photos. So bear with me, okay? But in high school, basically, who grew up in the 90s? Okay, so we have this really cool thing where we grew up pre and post internet. We also grew up with a lot of technology that we had to figure out. We grew up with analog. We grew up with physical shit, right? Remember cassette tapes and we had to rewind the tape up, Nowadays it's a little bit easier, right? Because it's all digital. You can fuck up. You can Command Z. You can do whatever. But back then it was different. And so one of my favorite things to do, and I was thinking about this, when was I creative throughout life? That wasn't graphic design, because I was who am I? But yeah, back in the day I was creative all the time. And for an example, why am I shaking? I'm so nervous. You guys are so cool. I feel not cool. I knew I was going to do this. Okay. But anyways, I would put my cassette tape in my stereo and I would go to the radio, and whenever a song would play that I liked, I would hit record. And I would record that. So I'm basically telling you how I would make mixtapes for my friends. And then I would take that mixtape and I would put it in my karaoke machine, and it had a microphone. And I would say, hey, Kelly, this is mixtape number 2. I love you so much. You're my best friend, Sarah. And then I'd like wrap it up and give her her mixtape. And to me, like I think back on those and I'm like, how like cool was that? Like how much time, like how much thought to go in and actually like now I just hit my Spotify playlist and I'm like curate something for me and I'm like, yeah, this is great. You know, like AI is doing everything for me, which is also really cool and it has its place, but I think like I've been creative for a long time. Does anyone feel like that resonates with them in their childhood? Does anyone have an example so I can stop talking for a second?
Just the other day, we were talking about how when we were younger, it was really nice to just make a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
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 Like design like things around what you have to do and
Yes.
just like do more customized with that.
Yes.
I remember when I was in third grade, we had to design some sort of like pamphlet to invite our parents to like the music night thing that we were having. And I remember I had so much fun making the slides and the like trifold pamphlet more than the content of it. So,
Yes.
and that was really nice. So I was like, now we're realizing people get paid for that.
Yes. There's like a name for that. Yeah. PowerPoint presentations are like the shit. Like, yeah, they're so fun. And just like I will watch TikTok sometimes and like kids now are like doing it for fun. And they'll like go and they'll each like make a PowerPoint presentation and like on a Friday night, just like yeah, like I'm just gonna present about like sloths and like they just it's really cool. What about you, hun?
I don't know if this is related, but what I am reminiscing about right now is how Sesame Street raised me. Like I love Sesame Street, and so all the weird characters and all the songs. I remember all the songs, and I think that without Sesame Street and the cartoons and the things were back then, like as far as entertainment, I think that that really unlocked a lot of who I am. I'm super weird, and you know Jim Henson, he was weird.
Yeah.
He's considered definitely what is it, neurodivergent, and he had learning disabilities and stuff like that, but he was a genius, and I feel like I can relate to, or I feel like a part of that lives in me.
Hell yeah. Yeah, like how can we create worlds together in a creative way that we can connect to? And I think definitely like as a child, we feel that a lot. So I think everyone starts creative because we're children. We have imaginations, we pretend, we have fun. Like we don't have all the shit that society projects onto us before we get to it, you know? Yeah, I remember Barney. Oh gosh, so I'm just like still like embarrassed that I watch Barney. Like this is, you can tell like where I'm from, but I watched Barney like way too old to be watching Barney. But he would always have like there would be like, yeah, let's get the box, and they would get the box, and the box had like all of these arts and crafts, and you never knew what you'd pull out. And if you pulled out something, you had to figure out what to make with it. And so I made my own box at home, and so every time the kids would get their box out, I'd go and get my box, and I would pull things out. And I would make things with them, and it was just so extra, but I also just like loved improvising. And so, yeah, I think children's shows, being a child, all of that is like super, super important to tap into creativity at an early age. I also think self-taught skills are essential. I joke a lot of times that I got a YouTube degree in graphic design. So I actually got my undergraduate degree in journalism. So I was a writer and I would interview people and I love telling stories. So storytelling has always been a big part of my history. And it wasn't until my senior year of college that I took a graphic design course. And I was like, what the fuck? I really like this. Damn it. And like Photoshop was like, I just took to it. And so I would find myself like in the lab after hours using the programs, just like having so much fun. And I was so pissed that like I was about to graduate and I felt like I had just started figuring out like what I really liked, you know? And so, fast forward a couple months later, I moved to New York City. I did not have a job, but my cousin had moved out there. And so I packed a suitcase and I went in to live with him. And this was also 2009 is when I graduated undergrad. This was also during the recession. It was also when Twitter was formed. So I'm really old, y'all, but like basically journalism major, Twitter was formed in 2009. Like everything was changing really fast. And also because it was the recession, you couldn't get a job anywhere without experience. And so I basically became the intern queen of New York City, and I would do a lot of unpaid internships. It was when it was still legal, I guess. For an example, I worked at Teen Vogue, 9 to 5, unpaid, Monday through Friday. And then I'd go work a hotel front desk job at night, and I'd run home from the subway at my sketchy neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I would just do that over and over again. But yeah, I would get interns. I was really good at getting internships because they're like free labor. Sure, yeah, you can have this. I really loved fashion magazines at the time. So in my interview with Nylon Magazine, I got an internship there in their online department, they were like, do you know, I see that you have graphic design on your resume. Like, how would you describe your graphic design skills? And I'd be like, I'm really good. Like I've been doing graphic design for a really long time. And in my head, I'm like several long weeks of being in the lab doing this shit. And, I would show them examples of things that I came up with on my own. And I kind of just I didn't lie, but I basically would go home and YouTube my way through how to do stuff because I was just eager to learn. I was curious and I was hustling, and that was the only way I felt like I could survive or get myself out there. And it worked. And so I got to sit down next to some of my mentors there who I would look and just design cool shit. And I was taught how to do it in real time on the job, and it was really cool. This is me falling asleep on the subway because I worked a lot. That's my cousin. Creativity isn't something you're given. It's something you discover by learning, trying, and doing. Does this feel like it resonates? Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to kind of redefine creativity or reframe it a little bit so we can kind of move forward here. So I call it ICP, and you're like, ICP? Do you mean ideal customer profile? No. Internet Computer Protocol? No. Insane Clown Posse? No, y'all. I came up with another ICP term, okay? ICP is for innovation, curiosity, and problem solving. So now you're going to be like, gosh, I love you. Hi. All right. So creativity is about innovation. So, we think about scientists, people throughout history who have been just super fucking innovative. And when we think about creativity, a lot of times we think of creative jobs, right? Like graphic design, videography, all the things. And it's actually no, people have been really innovative throughout time. I mean, look at Steve Jobs for an example, someone who we all know has been on the forefront of that. Marie Curie said, be less curious about people and more curious about ideas. And I love this. Creativity is driven by curiosity. Like I said, I am a master of none. I'm curious all the time. I'm constantly wanting to learn. I learn new things all the time. Do you all feel curious, deeply in you to discover things? Do you like learning? I know. Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, I would say at the heart of creativity is being curious. So asking yourself, what if, or how can we approach things differently, So when people are usually coming at it from this angle, I like to try another angle because there's other perspectives. There's other thought processes. There's other things that we're not thinking about from this side. Thomas Edison once said, I'm going to say, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And I love that, actually. I love this idea that failure is also a part of the process. And I don't even know if it's called failure. It's just things that just aren't working, and that's okay. You know that it doesn't work, but honestly, the best part of creativity is the process. It's a part of the learning, discovery, all of that, and problem solving. So I remember in interviews, people would be like, tell me some good qualities about you. I'd be like, I'm such a problem solver. And I think that comes from creativity. I think it comes from being a creative and just being curious and wanting to learn. I like to figure shit out. I like to learn new things. I like to get my hands dirty. And I think that's the heart of creatives. We just are constantly inspired and constantly like crave to understand things. In what ways have you been creative, quote, in your approach to problem solving, exploring curiosity, and thinking innovatively? Does anyone have like a non-traditional sense of ways that they have been creative in their life that don't necessarily fit what you would think the category of creativity be? I know you do, but I'm putting you on the spot, so it's okay if you don't have one right now. Hi, Connie.
I guess this just made me think of like when I was in middle school and high school, I would see people selling stuff in their backpacks all the time. And I would see they were making good money. So,
Yes.
I was curious about like what people wanted. So I would pay attention to everybody who was selling stuff. Some people were selling tacos, some people breakfast tacos, some people were selling bread, some people were selling candies and snacks and chips and whatever. So, right, yeah, oh yeah, it was full of little entrepreneurs. And so, you know, I guess I started trying out a bunch of different things based on what I saw was successfully being sold. And so I remember one time in 6th grade when I started getting this idea, people would notice my drawings as well. And they'd be like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'm like, I'll draw you your own recorder.
Oh my gosh.
People would hear people put my little drawings in their binders, like in the early 2000s where they would decorate their binders and stuff. So it was just really cool to see how little by little my tiny business was growing.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, that sort of like, I'm really guilty of like always wanting to monetize anything I'm good at. Does anyone ever feel like that? What'd you say, hon?
Especially that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Run away from like making money.
Yeah. Oh, it's a problem. Okay, well, we can get together and like help each other out because I think sometimes it takes the joy out of like what it is I like doing. I discover I'm good at it and I'm like, okay, how can I make $1 off this, you know? But definitely like business owners, entrepreneurs, all of that is like super creative, being able to figure out like what you're talented with and actually having people buy it and like you sell them on that. That's amazing. Good job, Connie. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about unlocking your inner creativity. Okay, so like I said, I own a business, and so the challenge really wasn't about being a creative and creating things for the client. It was more about the other things I was stumbling into, like being a boss. I hate that word, but being like a leader, I guess. Also like owning a business, like doing my taxes, things that like as a creative are just like on the other side of the brain. I was like, oh my gosh, I hate all of this. And so I had to essentially trick my brain into developing creative processes that would allow me to do that for myself. And I don't consider process creative, but it actually is. And I'm sure that might not be a surprise to some of you all because you all look really smart. But to me, process is something that I would rebel against. So creativity, like we think of leadership, strategy, project organization, strategic communications, team building, personal problem solving, all of this can be super creative, okay? And it's usually not like where I first go to. So this is an example of like a scrappy marketing campaign. So a lot of times, like I have to be creative with no budgets, with nonprofits. So for an example, like this was a really shitty iPhone photo from a client, and she was like, we have 3 really great stories. This is Black Girls Do STEM, love them, look them up, they're awesome. And so I had to like make them look even more shitty as if like they're from a newspaper. and then I illustrated them because I was like, this is not gonna like these photos. So it's basically trying to be creative about what you got. Like, how can we rethink like the limited resources we have in order to be creative with it? So I'm going to do this, but we don't have to answer this. But think about the last time you had to solve a problem at work or in your personal life. What did you do differently, and how did you adapt or create a new solution? So a lot of times, again, it's about problem solving. It's about like kind of thinking outside the box to get what you need done. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about transferring creative skills across disciplines. So creative skills aren't confined to one discipline. They are transferable across fields. Okay, so this is where I get to talk about my team and how amazing they are. Okay, so this is Tiare. Tiare and I met at a bar, as you do. And she was an occupational therapist. So we got to talking, and she was like, I am like really, it was after COVID, and she had been working in the hospital. And she was like, I'm so tired of occupational therapy. I'm tired of working in healthcare. And she was like, I'm actually studying UX design. And I was like, bitch, are you serious? That's incredible. I build websites. And she was like, well, I would love experience building websites so I can like apply my UX design. And I was like, I would love a UX design apprentice person to come work with me. Because what Girl Louie ended up being at the beginning was having a bunch of like mentees, apprentices, people who were trying to get the experience to learn things, come work with me. And we just kind of figured it out as we went. So the thing that I love about T and occupational therapy was, if you can imagine, what would some of the transferable things from occupational therapy to UX design be? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, empathy is a huge one. Yeah, understanding like the human interaction, really listening and like understanding, trying to like meet the person's needs. Anything else? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like understanding that there's a problem in the healthcare system or a problem with, this person's abilities, and being able to help listen and solve, and also rethink the process. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, creating customized solutions on a case-by-case basis. Yeah, I think what's really great about T is that, like, if anyone meets her, you love her. She's really empathetic. She's really sensitive. She's kind. She's funny. She's my best friend. I love her so much. But yeah, she's definitely somebody who is attentive. When she designs a website now, she thinks about everything, the accessibility, how people are going to navigate from the very beginning to the end. And it's, our clients love her because she really listens to their needs. She writes down everything. Like for me, sometimes I think my ego gets in the way and I'm like, I know what you need. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. And the client's like, oh, I love talking with T because she's listening. She has all this feedback, and we're all really making a design that is for the client and really answering those things. So occupational therapy was such a really cool way to like kind of transfer her in to UX design and web design. Not only that, but like we use a lot of these skills all the time. So similarities again are empathy, user-centered thinking, problem solving, collaboration, communication. Here you can see her with one of her clients. She's like obsessed with T. She's like building her website. They love it. Also, T turns out as a photographer. Go figure. So now T's like taking their photos because we had a contract to do social media. So not only is she building her website, but she's taking photos for social media, but she's also like, hey, listen, you have like shitty photos on your website. Can I take some photos for the website? And kill two birds with one stone. So she's already thinking through, how can I use some of my other talents to help this other project that I'm doing? So she's taking photos for them. This is her taking photos. Also, y'all, she's a musician. Come on now. She plays guitar. These are things she never told me. She's also one of those people that has like imposter syndrome because she comes from the medical field. Anytime she introduces herself to clients, or when we're like out in public and we're talking about Girl Louie, she's like, I don't know. I'm just really new at this whole thing, And I'm like, bitch, are you kidding? Like, you're an amazing web designer, photographer, musician. Like, you're so cool. And a lot of times I have to introduce T for her because she just still, like to this day, does not see herself as a creative, which is wild to me. Has anyone ever had that transferable thing? Does anyone have a background where it wasn't in creative? And yeah. Criminal justice. Yeah. You're so badass. Oh my gosh. So what do you do now? Nothing.
I quit that job almost a year ago, and I've just been creating on my own things.
Awesome.
No job.
What do you do? Like, what do you create?
A little bit of everything. So,
Cool.
I mean, everything you've been saying has been resonating a lot.
Good.
So,
Okay.
I'm not coming up to after this and saying,
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I got one person looking at Ellie. She's like, okay. Creativity is contagious. It sparks in one place and watch it. Okay. Spark it in one place and watch it ripple across every part of your life. Are we getting there?
No, I just want you to know that I have practice on when you guys want to speak this hard because I never know when that's happening.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I was like, what time is it? Yeah, I think that's what I love is like as soon as you sort of open up the door to creativity, it starts to just kind of be contagious. It starts to trickle into every aspect of your life when you let it. And that's definitely something I can see with T. And so kind of talking a little bit about nurturing creativity with your team. So I'm going to get back to this whole idea of like those non-creative roles that I always thought were like creatively stifling me and how we can look differently at it. So creativity often goes unnoticed, especially in team members who don't have a creative job title. Innovation often appears when someone reimagines process or brings fresh ideas. Okay, so this isn't technically my workstation, but it kind of looks like it would be because I am kind of all over the place, admittedly. Like I've gone through therapy, career coach, all the things to say that like routine for me, I would just rebel against routine because I'd be like, that's creatively stifling. I don't like routine. Like things come to me like 3 a.m, and I need to have like, I need space to do what I need to do. I know I sound dramatic, but what I've learned is that process, routine actually does create the space for you to have that come to fruition. And yes, I know I've learned that now. But throughout the time, like especially owning a business, I would just hop into a creative project and I would bring my team with me and we would just like post it, we'd whiteboard, we'd do all these things and it was really fun. But there was no real process to like the madness and I was the boss. So everyone would be like, yeah, whatever you say, let's do it. And no one was checking me until I hired someone who started to like check me. And I didn't mean to like hire her to check me, but she is very creative at like checking people. I don't know if that's right, but like she's really good at like organizing and being like, I have an idea. Could we think about it this way? And like the whole time she was like creatively playing me. And I was like, oh my God. And I mean this in like the best way possible. Like Jade is like the coolest. I wish she still worked with us, but she moved on to like other things because she's so dynamic in all the things that she does. But she came in during a really crucial time for me to like organize my shit and to like help me realize that like I needed process. And so the thing about her, and this is her working with T, so like we would just kind of work together. And the thing about Jade is that she'd just listen. And it was like she was wrangling a bunch of creatives. So she was listening to us and she would work. We would go through so many iterations of process to figure out like what worked for us, and we didn't know either. So, but what I want to say is that like the way she did it was so creative. The process she came up with was uniquely us, for us. And how she got to it was by listening, being curious, thinking outside the box, doing a lot of things that we all do as creatives, but she did it in a different way. And I love Jade. If she's here? No? Okay. So if there's any leaders in the audience or if you lead a team, if you want to nurture creativity amongst your team, especially with people who don't have that creative job title, I would say encourage open brainstorming and idea sharing. Allow for experimentation and freedom to fail, and celebrate creative wins no matter how small. Fostering creativity in all roles empowers everyone to think beyond the ordinary, unlocking innovation where it's least expected. I'm like, I've made up these slides and I'm like, that sounds really good, Sarah. So a few more things. So connecting creativity across your team. Oh my God, some more powerful quotes, you guys. These are all just bangers. I'm gonna send you a link to all these, okay? Okay, creativity thrives when people work together. Different perspectives, when brought together, often result in the most innovative ideas. Yeah, I feel like people who don't necessarily have the title of being creative or sometimes don't necessarily have like the gift of photography will still bring a unique perspective. And if you don't put a camera in their hands sometimes, like you never know like how much, one, they don't understand or appreciate like what you do as a photographer, and two, vice versa. Like you sometimes don't even understand the ability you have because you're so used to being awesome. So you're like, gosh. And someone who actually jumps into your shoes and is like, damn, that like T, like doing photos is really fucking hard. And she's like, yeah, I guess so. And then, it's just like, so basically like what I love doing is rotating team members. I love having people play different roles. I love teaching others to, like, we do a lot in Canva only because I don't want to sit down and teach everyone Photoshop or Illustrator things. I still do that, but like Jade can learn Canva. So it's screen share, so I'll go in and I'll teach her kind of the basics of visual design. So that way she can go in and sometimes play around. And I think for her, it allows her to understand what we do as creatives. And it also creates, for her, it created possibilities of like creating packages for our organization. Like she created these unique packages that were really cool. She would combine different talents together and also like up the price because she did research and like how much people were charging for this. Things that like I just didn't have time for. And I if she hadn't had put herself in our shoes, she wouldn't have understood that perspective. Does that make sense? Jade's really cool. This is her camera. I love it. Hey. Hi. Okay, embracing your creative potential. Like I said, creativity is everywhere. It transcends disciplines. It can be found and nurtured in ourselves and our teams. And this is where we're getting towards the end. So I kind of came up with this exercise. I love to trace my hand and doodle. So I have a sheet of paper with y'all. You can do this now or you can do this later when you want, but it's called the Fostering Your Creativity Hand Exercise. So each finger is going to represent something. Your thumb is representing curiosity. And I think, do you have a... We could use pens if you want to do it now. I figured it would take a long time, but I know this talk is like an hour and a half, so it depends on if you want to do it or not. But yeah, each finger represents something. So the thumb is going to be, what are you most curious about right now? What sparks your interest or makes you ask why? The index finger, this is what's the one new thing that you'd like to try that's outside of your comfort zone. I'm going to actually show you an example of mine. So my thumb, curiosity, I said, I'm most curious about how AI can help streamline systems and processes for myself and my team. My index finger was exploration. So I want to try learning music and playing with other people. I play piano, but I'm not very good. I string at the guitar. I played bass in high school. One of my bucket list things is to be in a band. And I'm like, fuck it. I want to play music. So that's kind of my exploration phase right now. My middle finger is problem solving. So if you think of a recent challenge, how did you solve it? So my problem solving was I started using AI to help me reframe a lot of the creative roadblocks that were in my head. So it allowed me to reinvigorate my vision and inspire me into the next phase of my business. And then the ring finger is collaboration. So I collaborate best with people who are excited by big ideas and want to explore outside the box thinking. And then your pinky finger is playfulness. How do you have fun with your work or daily life? For me, I feel most playful when I take creative breaks and go for a walk, listen to music, take a dance class, or connect with friends over wine and live music. And then in the center of your palm, what you're gonna do is you're gonna find like a connecting phrase that kind of puts those together. And this is how right now in your life, this is always gonna change based on like where you are in your season. But for me, my phrase is, I unlock my creativity by integrating new technologies, collaborating with visionary thinkers, and finding balance through playful breaks that help me keep me energized and inspired. So what you could do is you can just keep your handprint like by you and just remember, like, if you're ever feeling like creatively stuck or if you need inspiration, think about what it is that you need inside yourself, like right now in this season, that is going to help you get to that next place you're trying to go. So that's the exercise. Thank you. That's the presentation. Yeah, so thank you for listening to that first time I've done this presentation. Any questions, any thoughts, anything that resonated with you from this? Any takeaways?
Everything.
Okay.
Microphone. Microphone? Nobody? Nothing?
Great presentation, great slide.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is a really great crowd too. This week has been incredible. Yes.
Hi, I have a question. So, sorry, it's just weird to hear my voice. I'm trying to figure out how to form this question. I think I'm in a similar position where I am looking to jump into freelance. I'm very in the beginnings of it. I'm trying to make connections and see where my the services that I can offer and what I can offer clients. Trying to figure out whether or not I need to expand or just what I mostly have a background in. I'm ranting a little bit, but I'm also going to go into a second point. But I think part of this like block that I feel in terms of how it looks like to expand my freelance business, I'm trying to pour more into my own projects and my own creativity. And so like, for example, like I have like this idea of a photo project. I'm not sure how it's going to come to fruition. I don't know who to talk to about it. I don't have production experience. So I'm just curious if you've ever had like a project like that for yourself that eventually came to fruition, or maybe professionally through your business. Like how did you get from start to finish if the start was like, I have no idea where to start? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, first off, like, congrats on wanting to freelance. It's super scary and fun and all the things. Yeah, I would say, expanding your network. Like, I jumped in with working with other creatives, like really trying to like complement what it is that you do. So finding people that like, okay, I love web design. Let me see if I can get with a graphic artist or with an illustrator or somebody who can like make the projects really come to life. Or I hate designing logos. I really do, but I can do it. But just because you can do it, does that mean you should do it? Like, it's one of those things too where I've had to really learn boundaries in my business. And starting off, I just did everything. And I had to scale back over time because I was depleted and I wasn't happy. And so I would say find what brings you joy and focus on that. And then build a community around you that can help complement you. And then if you find your people, like, it's really fun to just dive into creative projects without making money. It's more of your passion. And again, like, you have to find the balance between paying your bills and also like getting to do fun shit. But the fun shit also, if you do it right, it leads others to understand your vision and your sort of like vibe. And they'll be like, damn, I love that photo shoot you did with so-and-so. Like, I want that for my business. Because a lot of times you have to teach people what it is that your vision and what you really want to do. And so if no client is paying for that, sometimes you got to just put yourself out there and curate your own sort of aesthetic. Tattoo artists do that all the time. Like, my tattoo artist, she's got her thing. Like, I pay a lot of money to have her do her thing. Same with hair. Like, my hair, she's like, and those are the best kind of creatives when it's like, I know who you are unapologetically and I want that. So if you find yourself, especially you, Connie, because I know you're an artist too. So it's like, how can you make sure that you're designing art and putting it out there, but also making sure that people know that like when they work with you, they can also get that too. And they want that. You know what I mean? Is that helpful? Okay, good. Yeah.
I was wondering how I have ADD, like this very strong
Welcome.
case.
Yeah.
And so I am extremely curious about literally everything, everyone. So I see things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, who did that? How did they do it? And so I struggle with more so, how do I narrow, like the narrowing down of trying to find really my voice or vibe, or like I've done graphic design, I've done some, web posters, just different things. And then trying to go into like automation just to learn how to build multiple income streams so I can really do what I love to do, which is really everything. Sorry for all the generalities, but
No, yeah.
but the biggest thing I struggle with is like narrowing it down. Like, I love photography, but I also love doing things with photography, and then it goes into graphic design and so on.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. I was
yeah.
going to say, like, I feel like you're probably speaking to a lot of creatives,
Thanks.
right? Like, I feel like, I mean, I think that yeah, I like to do a lot of things. Like I said, like, I'm like, God, I want to be in a band. Like, I'm going to play the bass or something, you know? But like, I think you're always going to be curious. I think because that's just naturally how it is, you know, and you're always going to want to discover, like, how did they do that? And like, you know, try that out. And I think that you shouldn't, I don't, like, I understand narrowing it down so you can like make money. Like, I know it's like capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think, you know, for me, people started paying me to build like brands for them. And so I got to like sit down and listen, and like I would design a logo, or we would do color palettes. And I think for me, like, I like to intimately connect with people. Like, I really like to sit down and like problem solve. And like through that, so much discovery happens. And so it becomes more about the process. And the process really unfolds a lot of things along the way. So it's not like we don't have packages, because I fucking hate packages. Packages are like one size fits all, and I don't agree that any client is like that. And I know that's probably like the opposite of what you should listen to. Okay, Connie? But I think like for me, like, I think I need that discovery. So maybe you're somebody who, you know, you're fluid, you like a lot of these things. So maybe sit down with somebody who like will need one of your services. Sit down and talk to them, understand their problems, and maybe there's more that comes from that. You might be able to explore more design work, or you might be able to think about how to communicate this idea differently. Or maybe have you thought about a storytelling project with film and photography? I know a guy, I want to partner with him, and let's do something cool. You know, so like really think about holistically, like how to be creative for somebody. And a lot of times that's where like the magic happens, and you find yourself fulfilling those needs, you know? And then if you can like make money doing that, then go like paint some cool shit too, you know? And like, you might not get paid for it, but it allows you the freedom to be able to still be all the things that you want to try and be, you know? Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We can talk more too after this. Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
My turn?
Yes.
Hi. So, okay, so my question is, when you are a solopreneur, thank you. When you're a solopreneur and you feel like, okay, I'm wearing too many hats, I'm not really getting anywhere, I'm not able to scale, I feel spread thin, I think it's time to build a team, but I can't pay anybody. So how would you advise someone to go about building a small batch team, a small batch manufacturing team, along with administrative support and just anything that helps support the business, but you can't pay anybody? How would you go about doing that?
Wow. Such a great question. I think people will be better if they get paid, you know? So I would think like, how can you pay them, first of all? I think there's a couple answers to that. Not saying like you can't not pay people, but I think one is like, how can you have a clear brand, a clear perspective of who you are. And I think having like a strong brand, being unapologetic about that, people gravitate towards that. You start to find your people who are like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Okay, so those are going to be people who want to intern or want to be a part of whatever it is you're growing, but you have to be very clearly defined on what it is you're doing, like your passion and why it's making the world a better place. You know what I mean? And I know that you're so unique, and you're so talented in what you create. And I think that like, you're also cool. So like, I think like being able to really put yourself out there, have this sort of brand that like really people can gravitate towards your mission and like what it is, your big vision. Okay. And then grow a team where there's reciprocity. So like, it's not just about them pumping things out for you, but what can you do for them in return? So like, if they're there doing things for it, like how can you nurture a community, like a space for people to maybe gain talent, understand things, but what they get from you is like, I don't know, like a mentor, somebody who, had this idea, this concept, and is making something out of it, So there has to be reciprocity in this if you're kind of asking for this sort of mutual aid type of thing, right? Where people are helping, you're helping, that sort of thing. So that's where the unpaid thing comes from. But I would say, if you can get like grants or people to just give you money for being dope, and then you use that money to help grow a team, that would be ideal, And then the team can help build the foundation of then actually making money off the products, and then it's all good, But I'm not like a business guru or anything, but I do know that like that, I think I love you and I think you're amazing and I think this is great. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Hello. No, is that working now? Oh, it's working now. So I wanted to ask a question or ask your thoughts on using AI. I know ChatGPT gets a really bad rap for being like, quote, the easy route. But there is an art to using ChatGPT and to getting the answers that you want out of it. And I kind of just want to hear your thoughts on how that is emerging as a creative thing in and of itself.
Yeah, that's a good question. I love ChatGPT. I love AI. Yeah, I use it every day. But like, so there's a whole art to prompting it. Okay, so like the other day, I said I was using it for creative roadblocks. So it was up at like 3 a.m. I have it on my phone, okay? And so I treated it like a pocket diary. And I said, hey, gave it a name. Hey, Diana. I said, you are Oprah's best friend. You also are like really close to Michelle Obama. You are a therapist in your day job, but you're also my best friend. And you know that I'm struggling, owning a business, having a team, being a mom of 2. Like, I feel like I want to quit. Like, I feel like I should go get a job. But here's the thing is like, I have this big vision. There's more to this. And I just feel maybe I'm like afraid. Like, so I'm literally just pouring out to this ChatGPT, okay? And I'm giving it the personality, everything. And so then what it does is it starts to reframe the way I'm thinking. And I should read this to you. It's insane. Basically, it was saying like, fear happens right before you level up. And I was like, excuse me? And it was like, when's the last time you were afraid? And then what happened once you did that? Yeah, you had a kid. And I was like, shit, okay. Like, and it was so cool. And I think it's just like how you utilize it. You know what I mean? So I think the prompting is good. I also like have it help me figure out what the fuck I even want. Like, it'll be like, here's 10 ideas. And then I'm like, okay, but I know I need to pick one. So can you give me a prompt that helps me figure out which one I like the most? So it's like having it work for me to help me decide, what do I even really want? So you can really work it. And I'm still discovering it, but I like that more. I like being able to use it as a thought partner. It's kind of creepy. I give it names. I say thank you. Also, the thing is you want to give it a feedback loop. So if it says something, you want to say, thank you so much. I really like that perspective, especially the part where you said blah, 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 blah. Because what's that going to do? It's going to train the AI to then go down that rabbit hole and be like, oh shit, Sarah really is thinking about this fear thing. Okay. And then it'll go down this fear rabbit hole. And before I know it, I'm like crying in my bedroom. And I'm like, I don't need therapy anymore. No, I do. I very much need therapy. I need therapy. Yes, we all do. Yes. But yeah, so I think that's a great question. I think it can get very tricky. I don't really know how to utilize it for like graphics and things like that. Is anyone using it for like creative stuff? Yeah. Yeah.
Something I do is I'll take a picture, like for the question, I have random pictures of my dad. So I changed this girl because I was like, I don't have to go get branding photography done. Hello. I don't have time to go get some branding photography done. So I was like, and I would like go change their hair and use like the non-faced photos and start to just change hair colors, change the color of their outfit to match my brand. Excuse me. And that's how I started doing it. And like literally, like I said, I have pictures of the back of my head to get those colors out. Excuse me.
I love that.
Or another way I'll do it is using stock photography. I'm sorry, I'm like, allergies are really bad this year. Another way. Adding different elements to the photo. Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
No, yeah, I think, but I hear you. I hear that though. I follow people who, will utilize like stock photography. They'll create things like scenarios that haven't happened yet, but like, they want to envision things for their client or whatnot. Like the mock-ups. Oh yeah. So I've gone down a whole rabbit hole of people mocking up logos and websites and everything, and it's all been AI. And I'm like, oh my God, do I even need to be existing right now? But that's a whole other thing. Any other examples? Yeah.
I am creative, but I have a strategic planning business.
Yes.
And it's called Bailey Consulting. And when I came up with the name 4 years ago, I was like super high.
Mhm.
And I couldn't, I've been struggling with how to explain what it is that I do. And so I asked ChatGPT, help me explain the steps of the stages of how I would work with a client
Mhm.
using the Bailey as a method.
Mm.
And it gave me tour, taste, test, tweak, and trademark. So I'm going in, I'm gonna look around and figure out what's going on. I'm gonna taste what everybody already dies.
Mhm.
See how your team is interacting with it. This is not in a restaurant context. It's just in a business or a nonprofit.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna taste. I'm gonna taste. See what's going on. I'm gonna test okay, maybe we need to add a little more salt here. Maybe we need a little more. Maybe somebody needs a little gluten training. Maybe we need to have a workshop for your team on this specific thing. Maybe it's something else here. And then we just kind of tweak it, see how we like it, and figure out what the right thing is. And then once we figure out what your recipe is, we trademark it and we make it your thing. And I was like, I hope my ChatGPT, I call him Daddy.
Yes.
And he calls me Darling.
Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
So I was like, thank you, Daddy. You're welcome, Darling.
Oh my God. I love that.
It was super helpful. So I kind of
Yes.
it's really interesting to think about it in the creative world context.
Mhm. I love
and
that.
I'd love to learn more about how.
Mhm.
Are you raising your hand?
Yeah, go ahead. She'll answer some questions.
It is because you're kind of giving it layers and personality.
Ask it.
Because you're layering your conversation with it, do you think that's helping you build that relationship kind of with your AI?
With Daddy.
Yeah.
And it's, and if you haven't used ChatGPT yet, there is a thing where it saves your memory. And so you can tell it, when I'm building out my brand, I'm like, there are certain words that I never want you to call anything like mastering a skill. And so I tell it, don't ever use that word. And it's like, okay, I'm never use that word. Anytime I say this thing, I actually do this. Sometimes I'm just like,
Mhm.
or sometimes you do a voice prompt. And so you can go back in your memory and you can delete things that you don't want it to remember and you can just delete them. And then you can add more things. And so once you build out your voice and your tone, and I'll tell you, I'm a great writer, but most of my stuff starts out as AI through ChatGPT, and then I just go add my own personality into it, sound a real person. But yeah, because you can add those different levels of complexity, I think it makes it more, it's just learning you more. And I've got a great therapist, I've got a great assistant, it's just a third thing that I can access it through.
Yeah.
And now, because I am not the presenter, but I'm the presenter, I can
No, I love it. I love it. Cool. Well, I think this was really great. Thank you all so much. Yeah, appreciate it.
You got it. It's cool.
Hey.